Well, here we are at Alexandria School. It's been closed for quite a long time. Many years ago, I taught yoga here, probably in this auditorium, and really enjoyed the group of people that were here. So it's sad that the school's closed down, but everybody's being bused to Quesnel proper, so it's really quite a great place. And now it's photographable. That's what's left of it. Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline Studio. I'm Sybille Muschik. We're working more with our texture, and this is the old Alexandria School. Look at all the lovely flaking paint. Only printmakers and paint artists in general would be enthralled with that. Also, we're going to be doing some resist work with some just crayons. These are oil pastels. I'm going to start with just inking the plate and having a bit of background. So, and getting my paper ready for printing. Probably working more again with my Oriental papers. And we'll see how it goes. I've inked this plate already. We're just going to give it a nice even rollout, and just some turquoise paint, the Amsterdam variety, and a little bit of white. I just want a very pale background, so let's start with that. Using my Beren to pick up the first printing. This Oriental paper is just lovely for picking up the paint. And I can even wet it down with a brush, and it doesn't tear on me very easily. So it's all to the good. Okay, so that's just our background. We're not going to be doing a transfer per se like we have been doing with the oil transfers. We're going to be doing a kind of different transfer using our resist technique. So I have a plate. I'm going to be keeping my image handy. And I'm just going to draw for all of those of you who just love to draw like me. Let's just go for it. All right. I'm doing the reverse image. The photograph, I have reversed it. And so we're just going to start. Now I'm just going to use the... Now anything that I wax, of course, is going to resist the paint. So you have to kind of think in reverse terms for that as well. So there's sort of these... I don't know, that's a plexiglass kind of thing, I think. And then there's a, and we'll leave, there's a black line from here to here, but we're thinking in reverse, right? So we're not going to do that. We're going to do the next part of it. So this line will be whatever color we have underneath. And then there's some kind of a little, we just move it over here. Just a long kind of a picking up some texture here from my light table, but that's interesting. And I just might put something under there. There we go. It has 3 little screws. And then there's the I don't know what exactly it could have been a knob of some kind, because it looks like it's a round. But the key lock is in there, so we're going to put a key right like that. And then from then on, you can just, I'm going to, where the highlight is, that's where I'm going to put the paint. And then in drawing, when you're doing a nice drawing, you go off the edges like that. That's why we have this paper here. And the same here. And at the bottom. I'm just going to rub some more of this here where the highlight's going. And that should, I'm going to be inking that in a yellow, sort of brownish yellow, orangey color. And that's what should pick up, hopefully. You can make all these grandiose plans, but that doesn't mean it turns out that way. And here. Okay. So then everything else is fair game. This is where you get to play with line and texture and shape, and you can just make it up as you go along. Now the paint is sort of flaking off in these line kind of things, so I would start with lines and let it go right off. And some of these are cracks, so you're going to have nice little crack shapes. Now the cracks should show up as our background blue color. And make the cracks not too symmetrical all over the place. You can make these lines as wonky and strange as you want. Okay, then we go for some of the paint shapes, because hopefully that will show up. So I don't know, you can do shapes like people, you know, things with rounded tops, an arm or two, a leg, whatever. This is where you have fun, you know, you just go for it. Just do some interesting stuff. Just marks. We'll lose quite a bit of that as we go along. We'll do several of these, and each time you have to wipe the paint off and then redo the wax. So it builds up, and in the end, actually, your plate is very interesting and a piece of artwork as well. So now I want some of that to show a little bit of the blue, and maybe on the plate as well. Okay, and I think there were some screw holes here. It just adds extra interest. We'll give it a shadow, hopefully that shows up in the blue. A few more marks. Not all of this sheet is bigger than the 8 by 10, so not all of this is going to be printing, but so lots of paint flakes here. You get the idea anyway. I'm not going to go through all of it. At your leisure, you can do a much, you know, maybe comprehensive job fine. Okay, now we're going to give it a nice dark color. I'm going to use black, not too much. I always get carried away with the amount of paint I put on there. Bad habit. A little bit of my burnt umber. And on this side here, we're going to put some of the orange and a bit of yellow. Just ready to roll out our paint here. Now that's kind of a lurid. I'll just show it again so that you're seeing what I'm seeing. Here's this yellow, and then here's our turquoise. Now because we have a turquoise background, wherever I put the crayon, that should show up. The cunning plan anyway. So this is a little bit like a transfer that the wax will resist the paint and leave an impression of that behind. You have to be careful not to have too much paint. And even though I put very little on, you can see it's still way too much. So we'll have to take some of it off. And at the same time, you've got to make sure it doesn't dry on you. This isn't the open paint. Just put this out of harm's way. And we'll place this. Okay. Now if all goes well, we will have some resist happening to get our lovely texture. Might have to do it several times. Ooh, look at that. All right. I mean, look at, even this is looking fantastic, right? But we have to take that all off. Now we print. Try and line it up fairly reasonably. I could have done the, guerrilla registration by, having it taped down, but you don't really need to. You can crop your edges. You can buy registration equipment if you're really, really fussy, or make it yourself, where your plate actually fits into a nice sort of angle thing. And I find the first print really is the most successful. See, here's our knob. And because I only outlined it and put shadow around it, that's exactly what's showing. And here, now I don't know why that didn't stay blue. We're also picking up the color a bit, which is fine. So everything is good. We're getting our lines. We're getting some interesting stuff happening. Okay, I think. So let's try another one. I just want to show you what happens when you take all that off and redo your resist. So we'll do at least a couple. So here's a paper. Now we have to clean this up. Otherwise our resist doesn't work. So I'm just wiping off that layer of paint. Just a paper towel with water works good, as long as you've done it fairly quickly after you've pulled your print. A baby wipe will finish it off nice.
So what kind of paper is that?
Now this could be anything like photo paper. This is, I I think it's cardstock, but it's smooth on one side and fairly, not quite as smooth and shiny on the other side. So it's coated cardstock, or you can use tag, coated tag. You could do a piece of cardboard and then put some medium on top, you know, a couple layers of medium, so that all those kinds of things work. Photo paper would be great because it's fairly stiff and it would take the paint well. Okay, so now for the most part, the resist won't work so much on this next layer, so we're going to re-ink. Well, re-ink. We're going to whatever this is, crayon?
Re-wax.
Re-wax. Okay. So I'm just going to go over some of the things. Now, apparently our blue actually printed, so that's because these are this Pentel things. Let's put our paper back that we had. And I'm just reinforcing some of the line work that I did. Same process. Now I think our key turned out really well the first time. As you do this, I have found it doesn't print quite as well. Not sure why, but it becomes more and more exotic and interesting. Pretty well the same colors. Maybe I add a little bit of the orange this time. I'm going to just use a white sheet. We won't do a base tone. Because the plate already has a certain amount of color on it. So rest again with blue. And a little bit of the black just to make sure that it prints. Now, mind amount. I'm always overdoing the amount. Do you ever talk to yourself, you know, when you're working? I do. I suppose I should worry if I start answering myself, but our studios are pretty lonely these days with no students and everybody having to pretty well work on their own. So I have music playing usually. I like classical music, sort of keeps me calm. And okay, cross your fingers that this level will work. Okay, get this out of harm's way. My Baron is really good for really pushing that waxy surface down. And let's see if maybe some of the crayon got transferred as well. Okay. So getting a not bad. Not so much of the detail on the, like I said, it seems to deteriorate a little bit as you go along. I'm not sure why that is, because we've re-waxed everything. Some scientist will have a clever explanation, I'm sure. And we're just going to get the print from that. I didn't spend as much time putting the crayon down either. That might be a partial explanation. So we're going to get more white this time because I haven't put that underlayer down. But again, my oriental paper is really picking up all the lovely textures. And that's basically what today is all about, is texture. So there we are. So once this dries, I'll do some ink work. We are drawing today as well, so that's fine. You can embellish that kind of thing. And we'll go on to the next step. So now we're adding some type to our little images here. And this one is from yesterday. I have to do some detail work on it, which I want to show you. You know, if they don't quite turn out the way you want. But we're going to put some type on first. And we decided to call it Green Door. Remember that song, The Green Door? Not going to say it. All right, Green Door. I'm keeping the type fairly large. And you can do serif or sans serif, or you know, a funky typeface of some kind. It's all yours, remember? Let's put a little serif on here. Invent our own typeface. Green Door. Even though I'm doing it in black, because that's what is going to show up. I'm doing it on a 5x7 gel plate because it will, I don't have to reverse it, you see, on here. So we transfer it to here, push it down really good, and hope it transfers. And you can, if it doesn't transfer all that great, you can, oh, we lost our R. Try some more. Okay, I can deal with that. Everything's in reverse here, remember? And neaten up your type nicely. Okay, now that will transfer onto the print. This is a Posca pen, by the way. Works great. And you can very well place it where you will. It's not going to pick up anything else because we cleaned the plate. And it could have transferred a little bit better, so we'll have to just fudge it here a little bit. But the rest looks pretty good. Okay, so that's our Green Door. And now I just want to, I'm using a different pen because I want to be able to outline something and then, like watercolor, wipe it away. Here's our little doorknob. And we're putting the key in. In this print I hadn't done the key. This is our little plate of some kind. I think this pen is running out of ink. or the paint that's on the is resisting. Now there were 3 little screws on here. You just want the stuff to show up. A little. What is that stuff, Josh? That plexi.
It's like corrugated iron.
Yeah.
And that's been painted.
Yes. I wonder why they would do that. Anyway, we're going to add some marks on here. And you can, embellish to your heart's content. This is your piece. You do what's necessary. Put a shadow here. Some really nice line work on there. This thing looks pretty good without too much embellishment. Now, just to show you how good this paper is, which is phenomenal, I'm just going to run a little bit of water around the outside edges. That was not a indelible pen, it's water based. So if you want to soften the edges, not have really harsh lines, you can add a little bit of water to your brush and then just soften things. You can't do it to here because this was an indelible pen. The Posca pens are, well, if it's still wet, you can do a little bit. I'm trying to just make it look more print-like here. But of course, being acrylic, it will dry like an acrylic. So, but while it's still wet like it is now, we can mess with it. Okay. So there we have our green door. Okay, that was from yesterday. Now today's, I'm going to just erase this off the gel plate. I mean, if you're really good at writing things in reverse, then of course you can just do it directly. But if you're not, then this extra plate does help. I have to clean that off too. Just use baby oil or mineral oil to get the letters off, the deep letters. Okay, so let's just keep this out of harm's way for now. And what did we decide on?
I can't remember.
Something about the paint texture, right? Just
Well, it was weather worn.
weather worn. That was a nice word. Yes, weather worn. So I decided to paint the lettering this time. I've got a little bit of white acrylic here. I'm just going to wet my brush, damp it off a little bit. So we decided on weather worn. That's not easy to say, is it? And we'll get that onto the other plate right away. Let's see if that transfers. Okay, not too bad. Maybe shorten up a little bit. This R is going to give us trouble. Okay. Did it pick it up? Not terribly well yet. Okay, we have a start. I think we need to do this in the... Now, remember when it's wet, we can actually take it off. So it's a good thing we're learning this. And a little bit of damp moisture. And you'll see. Because the other paint is dried, you're not taking that off. Well, I guess we're back to our Posca pens. So I could use my open acrylics. I'm sure that would work. But the Posca pens really work very well. So let's do the brown. And basically I just have to rewrite this. Let's try that. There, now we know it's going to show up. I'm not saying it has to be printed. You could write it on directly yourself, of course. Whoops. My heart's upside down. Okay, yeah, how did that happen? Again, I can correct these things. There. Looks good. You can actually put it back down so that it's printed looking nice. All right. And sort of some of those tones are in there, so it's not like we are introducing a foreign color. Perfect. Next one. And this one was neglected. And we're going to just add some detail. I really like that brown, so we're going to add a little bit more brown. Now you have to admit this is way too much fun. Okay, here's our... And our key. And the outline of that little, whatever that is, board. And this is wet acrylic paint, so we can take a brush to it and make it less sort of in your face. If you hurry. Of course, you can use watercolor paper to do this. I'm really quite amazed by this Oriental paper because it is very, very strong in spite of looking very delicate. But see how that you can do this watercolor technique where you're just wiping away from the edge and it gives you kind of a shadow effect. It's quite lovely. Okay, let's do our lettering. And then you can spray it with a bit of water or, yeah, it's coming off nicely. Alcohol works too, of course. Okay. Give it really big letters if we can. It sort of goes from really large and then tapers off, just like neglect, right? Let's see how it transfers. Can't really use my pen for it, can we? Oh, it was a bit on the wet side, so we'll have to do it again. I guess my plate was still wet. Okay. I think this particular, just maybe we need to let it dry a tiny bit. It seems very runny and wet to me. Give it a shot. And maybe I moved it when I put it down, but I don't think so. Okay, that's not bad. And the letters look a little neglected too, so I think that works. Good. Put it down on the bottom there. Oh, look at how it lines up. My graphic design teachers would be proud of me. No. Okay. It's not bad. The E is a little bit hard to read. I might just shore that up a bit. But other than that, it looks pretty good. Just take an edge off there. Wow, okay. Well, that's it for today, folks. Well, I had a lot of fun, I must say, and I've been working on this for a while. I love textures, as you can see. So find something old and neglected yourself and you know, see it in a different way, and it could be quite spectacular. So we'll catch you another time. Come and join me for some fun printmaking here with our gel plate here at Shoreline Studio. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.